Hey people, welcome to the Run Test. It's Kieran here, and in this video we're going to be looking at a brand new shoe from HOKA, the Kawana, and we're going to be putting it up against an old firm favourite of the Run Testers, the HOKA Rincon 3, to see what's different, what's new, and which one should you buy if you're looking for a new pair of shoes. So first up, some all important stats. The Kawana weighs 283 grams or 10 ounces in the men's, that's 237 grams or 8.4 ounces in the women's. That's a chunk heavier than the Rincon 3 that comes in at 210 grams or 7.4 ounces in the men's and 176 grams or 6.2 ounces in the women's. Both have a 5mm drop. The Kawana will set you back £125 or $140, while the Rincon is slightly cheaper at £103.95 in the UK or $120 US. Some key design differences then. Well, the Kawana feature HOKA's new CMEVA foam, and that's supposed to be more responsive than the ProFly foam that you get on the Rincon 3 and the likes of the Bondi 7. And this is the shoe that's supposed to deliver a dynamic, versatile trainer experience. It's got a soft, smooth, blissed out runs sort of style and maximal comfort at any pace. Meanwhile, the lighter Rincon with that moulded EVA midsole are supposed to be a fast, light, cushioned, versatile trainer that can step up to racing as well. Both shoes have an early stage meta rocker, and the Kawana have a slightly denser jacquard mesh upper compared to the Rincon's vented mesh uppers. The Rincon has a flatter kind of foot wrapping tongue, has a lot less padding than the Kawana's, and it's also not gusseted like the Kawana. So if you don't like a gusseted tongue, you might not like the Kawana. The bucket seat feel on the Rincon sits a little bit deeper on that shoe too. And the Kawana will also come with this kind of anatomical heel construction, and that's essentially sort of designed to support the heel a bit more around the Achilles. One final bit to notice here is that the Kawana also has the swallowtail geometry that we've seen on some shoes, along with a beveled heel that creates a kind of broader, flatter surface. And that's designed kind of for heel strikers to have a bit more of a smooth transition. And so this is a shoe that's perhaps targeted more at heel strikers than the Rincon 3. When it comes to fit, then I ran in the Rincon 3 and the Kawana in my size, which is a UK size 8.5, and I found them both fit kind of true to size. I think overall there's a little bit more room in the Rincon 3 toe box, both around the end of the toes and generally kind of wiggle room for those toes than you'll find in the Kawana. The Kawana's padding, I think, just makes it feel, and the uppers actually, the more kind of structured uppers, makes it just feel a little bit more huggy, a little bit more tight across the kind of top of the midfoot as well. And I think actually there's a little bit more kind of tightness, you want to call it security, into the heel hold of the Kawana as well. It's got a slightly narrower, sort of pointier shape, the sort of heel cup. So I think that kind of hugs a little bit more closely to the Achilles. But overall, if you're thinking about going true to size or sizing up, I think both of these for me worked perfectly well true to size. So one thing I like to do when I'm testing two shoes like this is to basically put them both on and go for a little run, not too far, just to see how they feel when you've got one on each foot. And I've just done that with the Kawana and the HOKA Rincon 3. And from the first moment you kind of step in, you can feel actually the Rincon 3 is much lower and more connected to the ground than the Kawana. The Kawana sort of has a more substantial platform that raises you off the ground. It also definitely gives you a little bit more of a kind of cushion feel, though you lose a little bit of ground contact in relation to that. I think the Rincon feels lighter on the foot immediately. I think there's definitely a little bit more room in the toe box, and overall on the shoe, the uppers and that fit a little bit sort of looser, if that's the right word. They're not kind of floppy and baggy and saggy, but there's a little bit more structure and a little bit more padding, I think, in the Kawana, that makes the overall fit feel a little bit tighter and a little bit more kind of huggy than you'll find on the Rincon 3. So it depends whether you like that feel or not. On the run, you're definitely going to get more cushioning and protection from the ground in the Kawana. It's noticeable actually how much more there is. And the stability I didn't find to be too much kind of a difference between the two shoes. I kind of found that wide base platform that you get with both of them to sort of perform equally well on that front. But perhaps surprisingly actually, I found like the Rincon was a little bit softer. They run firm. Generally, I think the Rincon, they're a firmer shoe than some other cushion shoes, but I found them to run a little bit softer initially than the Kawana. So there you have it. That's my initial thoughts on how these shoes felt when I put them side by side to run a mile, one on each foot. We'll pop back inside now to find out which of these shoes is best for what kind of run or what type of runner, and which ones you might want to buy out of the HOKA Rincon 3 and the new HOKA Kawana. So you'd be pleased to hear that we have done some miles just wearing the Rincon and just wearing the Kawana. We don't always wear them one on each foot. Now, the Rincon 3 to me still feels like a more nimble, agile, it's a lighter shoe that I think has a lot more versatility. The Kawana, on the other hand, puts a lot more cushioning between you and the road. And despite this kind of new CMEVA foam in the new Kawana, there's not a huge amount to choose here in terms of response. And if anything, I personally find that I get a little bit more of a punch out of the HOKA Rincon 3 than I do out of this new Kawana, which to me feels a little deadened on the road. I'm also not a huge heel striker, so it's hard for me to say whether or not that kind of swallowtail and that beveled heel is making a big difference. But I do know that kind of Nick and the other run testers are running it a great deal, and their reports, as you can see in the review that we've got on the channel here, that there weren't really it wasn't a dramatic shoe to run in, so I can't see that there's a huge amount to report on that either. Now, if I had to summarize these two shoes, I would say the Kawana's a shoe that I would happily plod all day long in. I find it comfortable, I find it enjoyable, but it's definitely an easy run kind of plod shoe for me. Whereas I think the Rincon 3, it can work when you pick up the pace. It's got a lot more versatility built into it for that reason. So you can go for anything from easy and slow through to kind of mid runs right up to sort of faster pace. So if you want a bit more of a do it all rounder, then I think the Rincon 3 has that. The Kawana lace it up when you just want to run for fun or go easy. Now, while we're not really sure that the Kawana's bringing that much that's that new to the game here overall in terms of all the shoes on the market, I think HOKA has framed these shoes pretty much bang on. The heavier and higher cushion Kawana is definitely at its best on those easier sort of runs where you want sort of maximum comfort. So we're talking recovery runs, going slower, those runs where you just want to amble with no particular intent or purpose. It's a solid shoe that's reliable if unremarkable, that some may find, I think, a little bit deadened underfoot compared to some other easy shoes with max cushioning. Now, what the lighter, more agile Rincon 3 is going to give you is a lot more versatility. If the Kawana is that kind of all-round kind of saloon car comfort, then this Rincon 3 is a little bit stripped back compared to that. Springier underfoot, I think it's a lot more kind of punchy. You're getting a lot more kind of pronounced ground contact feel. It's lighter overall. I also think, for me personally, there's a little bit more room. The uppers are a little bit more flexible and a little bit more rangy in the toe box. And the Rincon 3 really is a shoe that I feel, it copes at kind of easy runs, but it's also a shoe that's kind of happy if you want to go up a bit more through the gears on a run. Now, if you own a Rincon, a Mach 4, I think, or a Bondi, then I don't think you're going to want to buy a Kawana. I think if you own any of those shoes, you might still be interested in getting a Rincon. So there you have it. That's our run through of the differences in the design details of the Rincon 3 and that new Kawana. Hopefully we've given you an insight into which shoe you should buy depending on what kind of runner you are and what kind of runs you want to use them for. Yeah, we hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have any questions or comments about this, don't forget to kind of hit us up below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Check out the full review of the Kawana we've got and the Rincon 3 on the channel. Yeah, and other comparisons we've got of those shoes. And yeah, we hope to see you again on the Run Testers soon. Thanks for watching.